questions that you guys might have for Bishop, maybe about his message tonight, anything else that comes on your heart. Yeah, let's get a microphone there.
Thanks for coming out, Bishop. You mentioned how when Jesus is asking Peter, do you love me? He's emphasizing how Peter needs to receive the unconditional love of God in order to shepherd his people. And I was wondering, as a shepherd of God's people, is there an event or a cascade of events where you experienced the love of God so unconditionally that it helped you to feel tantamount to the task with God's grace of shepherding God's people?
Oh, that's a good one. Wow. Stumped the bishop. I think that's good. I like that. That's good. I would say, first of all, there's the experience of being loved by other people that gives you a little bit of a sense of that confidence. So there are people in my life who have loved me. I think that there were prayerful moments when that's happened. You know, I think one of just preparing for ordination 36 years ago, I was on my retreat, and that Gospel of John at the Last Supper, where Jesus says, I call you my friends. I don't call you slaves anymore, because the slave doesn't know what his master's about. I call you my friends because I've made known to you everything I learned from my Father. That particular passage hit me at a particular time that really made a lot of sense. And I can point to certain retreat moments. I'm trying to think of moments when I've kind of fallen flat on my face. And believe me, I can think of a few, but where, you know, the world didn't end. Yeah. And the Lord kind of picked me up. I'll tell you one silly story. It's not a moral issue, okay? I remember when I was in the seminary, one of the things we had to do is we had a cantor. We had to lead the singing. Not just sing, we had to lead the singing. Everybody had to do it. And I was, one night we were doing evening prayer, and at the end of Vespers there were these petitions, just like that, the prayer of the faithful. And I was so focused on the music that I lost track of the words. And the word was for an angel of peace. And I started off, for an angel of death to come upon this house. These are people who are evaluating me, by the way. Well, first there was silence. There was, absolute silence. And there's this one professor who had a very haughty kind of a voice. And all of a sudden, I just hear this, he goes, and he broke up laughing. And then the whole place, just like that. And I said, I don't know if it gets any more embarrassing than this. And you know what? Evening passed, day followed. It wasn't the end of the world. Amen. I can think of, there were times in my life where I felt overwhelmed by the task in front of me. And when you get through it, yeah, there were a couple of, I'm not a confrontational person. I don't like, and believe me, I'm in the wrong business not to be a confrontational person. Sometimes you got to deal with things. And I can remember dreading things, dreading conversations. And somehow the Lord gives you the strength to try to be kind, to try to be patient. It's not, it's so hard. And that gives you a little bit of grace. And then, like I said here, on a positive note, when you see something in action that you're really not sure, but wow, when you see something take off, just does your heart good.
Yeah, amen. Yeah, I love the way you respond with such humility. The adventure in that, right? That like, man, sometimes we're afraid to start really just because we're afraid to fail.
Right.
And if we take that out and we actually take the first step, what we realize is, well, that wasn't so bad after all. That's great. Another question? Yeah, I'm trying to like look down that. Yeah, we have a couple over here. Yeah, we'll go there. Yeah, go for it.
Bishop, thank you for your talk. I was actually curious if you wanted to share about how you first encountered Jesus and what made you want to become a priest.
That's another. Wow, you got some good questions. My vocation story is a little bit different than many. People have these dramatic stories. Mine is very, very boring. It is. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I have to tell the story often. I don't remember not wanting to be a priest. Isn't that something? I don't remember. Not that I didn't think of other things along the way, but I always came back to that. I can't say that at this age I didn't want to be a priest. There were moments like when I was an altar server in the 4th grade and actually serving at Mass when there was a missionary there that I could feel my heart jumping. There were certain moments along the way. But I'm going to tell you something that I didn't think was so impactful, that I think probably was more so, and again, it's boring, it's old. I was in the 2nd grade when I received my first Holy Communion. And I don't remember this as a pivotal moment. I really, really don't. But I remember being fascinated by the Eucharist. Now, keep in mind, actually, I was going to say it's the 70s. It wasn't even the 70s. It was 1970. It was 5 months into 1970. All right? So picture the scene. And I had this, they gave us, that was a little bit of old world and new world. That's what I grew up in. I really did. I had butterflies and the Baltimore Catechism. I got it all. But at my first communion, they gave us a missal. I remember my parents having a missal, the leather-bound missal. And it was this false leather-bound, it was black plastic that looked really, really fancy. And gold leaf pages and all that. And on one side was the priest. Now keep in mind, this is new, the Mass being celebrated in English. Mm-hmm. So on one side was the priest doing the thing, whatever was that part of the Mass, and the other side was the words, the text of what we were saying. I still have it. And I remember going back over it and over it and over it and over it again. I remember being really excited when my brothers and sisters received their first communion. I think, without fully understanding it, that moment was probably more pivotal in my life than I give it credit for. That, like I said, it's kind of boring. It's not a big conversion story. It's not, but it was something that I went back over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And I had my things written, like you put in, like all your name and who gave you communion and all that, all filled out. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Saying yes to the invitation. That's great. Did you see another one out there?
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, Bishop, thank you for being here. So, if you're a very humble man, so if we just get rid of the humility, what are the 1 or 2 or 3 things you are most proud of what you accomplished when you were bishop here? And on the flip side, I'm sure you have pride. So, without the pride, what do you wish you would have done? 1 or 2 things you would have done differently or better?
Okay, good. All right. A lot of it has to do with really empowering our young missionaries. It really does. I'm not kidding. I'm not saying that because I'm here. So Brad and I were talking about this a little bit on the way up, in fact. So yeah, when I feel really proud of some of the work that began at Ohio State, and I think that Bishop Fernandez took it to a new level. I'm so proud of what's happened even since. But just inviting focus in, engaging with SPO a little bit, getting to know those young people and seeing them, encouraging them, loving them. All right? I was really, I would say, when I look back now and see all the great things that have happened even since, I'm really proud of it. I'm proud of my relationship with Damascus. Like I said, to be able to say that I love you, and I really mean it, and I'm proud of that. And I think I'm kind of proud of the way, like I'm so proud of our priest and our parishes, and I felt a real closeness to the priest here, and I got to meet people, extraordinary people, in all of the parishes, and that's with a year's worth of COVID. So those are some of the things that I walk away from here kind of, pretty good, pat on the head. I guess I kind of wish I had more time. I wish I had more time to see some of these things through. I feel like I started something with Real Presence, Real Future, and I got to do the easy part. Everybody was telling me, "Oh, Bishop, we really love Real Presence, Real Future," but the painful part was still yet to come. Yeah. And and I knew that was coming, and I knew we needed to. So I wish I had been able to follow that through, so that I saw something that somebody else had to kind of pick up. Father Harchie picked up a lot of that himself.
See you later, Father Harchie.
God bless him. But, so that's something I wish I would have seen through. And I'll tell you something, I'm not frustrated, but like the stuff that I'm talking about that I feel good about here, they're happening in small ways in Brooklyn and Queens. To quote the Lord, I wish the flame was already ignited. Mm-hmm. So, but I'm filled with hope,
Amen. Thanks. Yeah.
Bishop, you mentioned a few times that in your time in the Archdiocese of Columbus, it really filled you with hope and opened your eyes to the possibilities. I was wondering if you had any specific stories or moments that really opened your eyes, and what those specific possibilities that you now have hope in are.
Good, very good. Yes. Again, I'm going to focus on Damascus, and I'm going to focus on actually, I'm going to focus two of them that I did already, that and campus ministry. But then I'm going to turn to our schools. Okay. Actually, I had a nice encounter. I'll tell you about that. One is I mentioned this before, but those Friday testimonies. Just seeing, I told the parents. So some of the parents may still be here, and certainly the missionaries heard me say it, that when I first came here, people would tell me about Damascus. I mean, immediately. I came in March of 2019, and people would say, have you been to Damascus yet? No, I haven't. I got 100 parishes to visit. I'm dying to get there. I want to get to the parishes. And I did say, and I mean it, that was my priority. I said, I got to get to the parishes. And when I did get here, and when I saw what was happening, that was eye-opening. I had met different people who kept telling me. I said, "Yeah, okay, it sounds great." But seeing it with my own eyes, and then coming back and seeing it a few times, like coming the walk with the saints, and then the exposition, the adoration over by the lake. Oh man, that was a little bit different. That was something that was just incredibly stirring to me. The Ohio State, when I went back to some of the work, after Focus came and I started to see some of the work that had been done, even though it was still in a nascent stage, it was very affirming. Mm-hmm. Very affirming to hear some of the testimonies of some of the people there. That's what I'm kind of experiencing right now in Queens, that early stage. kind of looking back now, I feel good. Vocations. I felt good about some of the, we had, again, it's more that I'm proud of the people here, because some of the vocations don't happen overnight. I was so proud to see some of the young people pursuing religious life. I had a nice experience very recently in Rome.
Brooklyn and Rome there.
Yeah. Right. Quick sail across the Atlantic. I was in St. Paul's outside the walls. And it was a fellow from Waterson. I didn't know him at the time. I know exactly who he is, but he looks a little more scruffy than I remember him. A little bit older, more hair, a little bit on the chin. And this fella comes up to me. And I see somebody I thought had a vocation. And he comes up to me and he says, I don't know if you know me. He told me who he was, and I said, oh yes, I remember you. I remember you very well. And he said, I'm discerning with the CFRs. I'm living with the Franciscans in New York. I thought, oh, that's kind of nice. Those, when you see that happen. And then this is somebody who I met years ago, and then you don't know what happened. Like, talk about the nets. The net wasn't all that empty, was it? Yeah. You just don't know yet. You don't know. But you never know what God's going to do.
Love that. And all roads lead to New York, right?
Well,
no, not all.
If they lead to New York, they stop right there in traffic.
I think we have time for probably one more. Is there another question? I see a hand right back there.
Yes, Your Excellency. Just a quick question. Yankees or Mets, Giants or Jets?
Oh, that's easy. That's easy. Mets. More Giants than Jets, but there's nothing like Ohio State.
Yeah, amen. Go Bucks.
That's I tell people, I look at this, I'm standing. I tell people I saw more football in the 2.5 years that I was here than I saw in the 60 years before I came. Doesn't hold a candle. I never warmed up to the professional. Sidebar, I'm not too thrilled with the NCAA. I think they're kind of making it but that's another story. So that's Ohio State. But Mets. I was born in the Bronx, but I was born in 1962, the year the Mets were formed. And my dad was an old Brooklyn Dodger fan, and so it was inevitable. And that's passed down not only all my nieces and nephews. They're even bigger than I am. So Mets all the way.
That's amazing. Give it up for the Buckeyes being the football heart of. Well, Bishop, on our right here, you said that the Ohio State football jersey moved from your office to the residence.
Yes,
it's getting closer to home.
It's getting closer to home. I had it. It was in my office when I left the Buckeye Catholic. They gave me a nice Ohio State jersey. It was framed. Brad saw it.
Yep.
It was framed, and it had the number 8, I guess. No, where was I? I was 13. 8 in Brooklyn, 13. 12. I was 12. Bishop.
Whatever the number of the bishop you were of Columbus,
Bishop,
which I'm
so
forgetting.
I didn't have my number. Sorry. And it was hanging in my office. Now I brought it back over to the residence because I had to put something in Brooklyn up in there. I had to get So
that's fair.
But people will see it.
Yeah, that's fair. Dodgers? No, I'm just kidding. That goes too far back. Yeah. Wait, one more maybe.
There was somebody over there.
Was there?
Somebody stood up.
Yeah. Please.
Thank you for being here, Bishop. Just going on, you just have such a clear heart for the missionary aspect of the church, and I was wondering if there's any ways you foresee or you hope for the laity of the church to step into greater mission in the everyday life.
Yes. Again, I was talking with Brad about this on the way up. So I see great hope in our young people. I don't see. Here's what the thing is. I don't necessarily see. I mean, believe me, I do it, but I believe in being the fisherman, going out and reeling people in and bringing people. And Pope Francis spoke about going to the fringes, and I'm all for it. But you know what? Part of my job, I really believe, is to tend to the missionary hearts and make them stronger. And that's my real focus. I really want to do that really encourage those missionary hearts. Vatican II was not about setting up more clerical groups. It was about it was about transforming the world, the laity being missionaries in the world. And and so absolutely, I think things like this where we have good formation. That's the difference, though. That's so key, is good, solid formation. And I don't mean online self-help isn't going to do it. Maybe a particular university or something like that. That's fine. But it's like solid Catholic formation. Because otherwise you're preaching yourself or what you think. It goes back to who I want Jesus to be. Really getting to know Jesus. And by the way, read the Gospels. That's something I can tell you over and over again. But you need to be connected to something like this, and that will give you the tools that you need, and also it gives you someone who gives you feedback. You need to get some honest feedback, whether it be in an organization like Damascus or through spiritual direction or something like that. And then, even there in the feedback in the spiritual direction, when you feel like, well, I'm trying to get Bible studies, but nobody's interested, or I can't get past the pastor, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. Well, then somebody who can help you say, all right, here's a place where you might try it. Here's a place where you might try it. That's a very important question. Good.
One more time, can we give it up for Bishop Robert Brennan?